Hi guys, thanks for checking in. I'm Shannon. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, I have been, as you can see, posting, through my rebuild and stuff of my 1970 27-foot Airstream international land yacht. This original setting was a rear bath twin. I've converted it to a rear. I kept the rear bath, which now that I know what I know, I would have changed, and to a rear bath full. It's been about 8 months since I moved in. It was April 1st, 5th, something like that, of 2019. It is now December 15th of 2019. So after, 8 months or so of living, I guess almost 9 months, of living in Mildred, I thought I would give you a quick review of my tankless water heater. Now I have two actually, XL ventless tankless water heaters. As you can see in the video, how it's mounted against the wall. This one is underneath the sink in the kitchen area. The main water line, city water, and all of that is right here, as well as the pump and everything underneath the that feeds into the back. And then I do have a second one in the bathroom. Now they are point of use. This is the smaller one, so it is a point of use unit. And I went with two for two reasons. One, they weren't that expensive. They were only about $200, so it wasn't any big deal to get two. At least it wasn't with the budget at the time. But also, my thought process was, if one busted and the other one was still working, then I would still have access to hot water until I could either get the broken one replaced or fixed. But the fact of the matter is, at $200, I probably would just replace it. So, but I wanted to give you a couple little things I've learned about having a tankless water heater. And although it is ventless, the first thing I learned was it's not really, it can't be completely closed in. So underneath the cabinet, it's been okay, but I have noticed that even with the cabinet doors closed, it does, I'm guessing this is what's going on, deplete enough of the oxygen in the smaller space that it will automatically shut itself off, which is fine under normal circumstances, but in the middle of a shower, not so much, especially when it's cold outside. So what I've had to do is open a cabinet door when I'm going to be in the shower, which that's kind of a pain in the butt, right? So I'm going to install, I've got a narrow space, or a space wide enough next to the shower, and a space on the other side of this cabinet around the corner when you're going into the bed area, and I'm going to install basically floor vents. Now, I originally didn't want to put a floor vent on there. There's nothing on that particular wall on either one of those rooms. So it was just more for aesthetics, but I didn't want to use a floor vent because they're about that deep. And that's, to hold the baffle so it can open and close. But in hindsight, I got to thinking about it, and I was like, actually, that may not be a bad thing. One, it's dark, so it won't look like this weird spot. But two, I can open the baffle only when I'm taking a shower or doing dishes or what have you, and then close it the rest of the time, and that will keep it from being drafty out of the cabinet. The other thing is, when it's cold out, I can leave that baffle open, and then heat from the room can get into my cabinets and keep my pipes from getting too cold, even though they're insulated, but keep my pipes from getting too cold and freezing without having to open a cabinet. So, two reasons that ended up being okay. So just so you know, they are ventless. It's not going to affect you if you have it have to vent anything out. There's not been a problem with carbon monoxide or anything. And maybe one of these I'll do a carbon monoxide test to show that I'm not having, levels aren't getting too high. But it does need to be vented for airflow to keep it on. Okay. The other thing about, and I knew this going in, so when I installed my faucets and shower head and that kind of stuff, I made sure I used a two-handled system. So I've got a hot water handle, cold water handle. Reason being is these tankless water heaters tend to not know how to regulate water coming in from two sources. So if you have, at least mine don't, and I had read that this was a problem with others, that if you've got your cold water on, for whatever reason, the water heater can tell, I don't know if it's getting backflow of cold water or the hot water's not flowing as much. So basically what's happening is it's shutting off. And it's, so then you're getting nothing but cold water. And you have to turn all the water off, turn it back on, so the hot water will kick back on. So the propane will kick back on. Now mine are propane regulated. They are not connected to electricity. It is a battery igniter. So that's nice. So you're not using any of your battery power. But, so you do have to turn it off, turn it back on. So, that being said, find the temperature that you like for a shower, for a standard shower that works in general for everybody, unless you're going to have it easily accessible, so that each person can adjust the temperature setting on it before they take a shower, or do dishes, and just that, you just turn on just the hot water handle, and then that's your temperature. Now, and I have been in camping situations where they had tankless heaters, one in each shower that was outside, and you could just adjust to how you wanted to do it, which was nice for each person. But in this setting, it was not conducive to having the tank have the water heater like sitting in the middle, on the outside of the shower. Consequently, here's a catch. I'm on well water. The well water is kind of dirty, so I'm going through a filter a month as opposed to a filter a year. I've got one of the bigger Camco water filters, thought that would be just fine. It's not. So as the month goes along, my water pressure gets lower. Now the temperature setting is not controlled by a little dial on this particular model that lets you pick a temperature. It's regulated by how much water is flowing through the pipe. So less water into the system, the hotter the water. Well, so that means as my water pressure is decreasing, because the water filter is getting clogged, my water is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So what I've done, and what I noticed when it got cold one night and I had to disconnect and just fill my tank and use the pump, is my water pressure is more consistent with my using the pump system. At first I thought it was too low, but it was not. And so consequently my water pressure is staying more consistent, which means my hot water temperature is staying more consistent. Now you also have to adjust a little bit based on how cold the water is outside. It will only regulate it or, heat it up, like 40 degrees or something like that. Something crazy like that. So if the water coming in is 40 degrees, then the water coming out is only 85, which not a cold shower, but if the bathroom's cold, it's a cold shower. So you have to adjust that. That was one mistake I have made with where I placed my hot water heater for the shower. It's too far over in my cabinet, and although I can get to it from inside, I do have to take a bunch of stuff out. And the way I've regulated and, got stuff underneath there for the composting toilet and that kind of deal, it has made it a little more difficult to get to it. So, and now the easiest way for me to get to it is from outside through the back hatch. So not great, but it's still fine. And I may rearrange all of that again, as you do. So, that all being said, I do like this particular model. It was inexpensive. It was easy to install. I'm not a plumber, and I had no problem installing everything, cold water in, hot water out, gas line. I did have a plumber install the gas lines, or connect the gas lines when he installed them, so I didn't do the gas line for the propane, or for the tankless heaters. But super easy. I just had him do everything. But anyway, I would definitely recommend these. There are some little troubleshooting things that you'll have to learn and, be a little bit flexible on. But because they are small, inexpensive, and fit in tight spaces. They're only about, you only need about 5 inches of depth. That one in here is tucked up behind my cabinet, or behind my sink. So there's plenty of room. And if you have a stainless steel sink, I will tell you this. If you have a stainless sink, the back of the sink will get hot. Which is from out of the top. So I think having the heat coming out of the vent over here is also going to be nice in cold weather, because it'll just kind of heat the room. That doesn't end up being efficient. I may add a fan to pull the hot air out, but it is kind of nice to have the hot air in there. So for cold weather, in the summer it's a little warm, but I didn't want to cut any more holes in the side of the Airstream to vent it out, because that just would end up being a drafty situation. I may change my mind in the future. I don't know. Anyway, I will post the information below on the model, or the closest model available to what I have, and a link on Amazon. It would be an Amazon affiliate site, so if you buy one through there, it gets me a little, I will get a little bit of a bump, as most everybody knows, but it doesn't change the price for you. If there isn't one on Amazon, then I'll do the best. I'll give you the link for directly through XL. I may have even gotten this through Camping World, or may have even gotten it. Right now they're doing a lot of Christmas discounts, so the holiday seasons are always great for that. But anyway, so thanks for watching. Don't be scared to use a tankless water heater. They are quite nice to have, and you're not constantly using battery power and stuff like that to keep hot water hot until you need it. So I vote yes, and happy camping. Thanks. Bye.